Looks like I've got something of a bug infestation. Since Leviathan dropped, we've been flooded with fantastic sculpts of the new Tyranid range. Tyranids in Kill Team, not something I've ever really thought about, and I've certainly not painted a Tyranid in well over 20 years, since they first got released. Well, I wanted to get them on the tabletop and see how they played, but the first thing that I had to do was come up with a colour scheme. That's what I'm going to do today. I'm Wayne, you're in the forge, let's get those fires stoked and see what I came up with.
Since the release of the last launch box set and the range refresh for the Tyranids, we've seen a whole gamut of new colour schemes out there since the community got their hands on the models. Now, I've seen some really great colour schemes, some of which I've taken inspiration from. However, I wanted to go on my own route. I wanted to do something a little bit different. Much like using Tyranids in Kill Team, you don't see many people doing it, and I thought as such I really wanted to push the boundaries of what I was doing in terms of colour scheme, giving it something a little bit unique and adding to that flavour of it. As part of my process in that respect, I wanted to tell a story with this model. So the best way to do that, I thought, is to put on a scenic base and give it a little bit of character, and then from there we can work on figuring out what the colour scheme is going to look like. Now, that's where I kind of fell down a little bit. Putting the model together, I wanted it to really convey the horror of what the Tyranids are, this all-consuming hunger. Leaning into that organic feel, I wanted to make my nids look a little bit more as if they belonged in the natural world. Hitting it from underneath with a sienna colour, I then thought, well, what I want to do is something a little bit different. I want a metallic look to these guys, but I don't want to go down the usual insect route of using an iridescent paint. So I thought, well, let's use some Dirty Downs rust. Now this stuff is fantastic. No doubt you've seen a number of videos on them already. There's a number of ways to use this paint. I like to use it in layers. So this is the first one going on before hitting a lot of the model with some of everybody's favourite wash, Null Oil. This just really brings out the contrast in the shadows and just lowers the overall temperature. Next up, we're going back to Dirty Downs range, using verdigris and moss. Now, the verdigris, I'm not 100% sold on yet. It does get easy to use as you go on, but I did redo this part later on. So I wanted to have this turquoise verdigris look, again leaning into that metallic feel. So I used it on a few sparing places. Next up, using the moss effect. Now this is absolutely fantastic, and it really helped bring the base to where I wanted it to be, giving it that, or start to give it that natural world feel, bringing back that organic feel. Now, as you can see here, I've gone into one of my favourite nylak oxides. The verdigris didn't work in the way that I wanted it to, so I came back in, thought, right, I'm just going to go with this. Now, it did give me a green base coat. You can't see it very well in the video, but it did give me something to work up from, and I used then the nylak oxide more as a highlighting colour, but I think you'll agree it really did bring a pop of much needed colour. Now, you don't see it on this video, but I did come back in as well and go in with a second layer of the Dirty Downs rust effect as well, just to bring out the depth of it. Right, jumping back to the bases. Now I'm using some of the Citadel Barbed Bracken, I think this is called. Now, I'd already pre-painted this. Yes, I did paint it on sprue. I did it a while ago for my Dark Angels. Now, it fit in really quite well with the theme of this base. So I used it straight away. Why not? What's the point in doing something if you've already got it laying around? And I had these tufts from many, many years ago just kicking around in one of my drawers. So why not get them on there? With a little bit of super glue just to make sure they get in place. And popping it down with some tweezers just at the base of some of the other bits and pieces I put on there to give it that more forest floor look. And then bringing out some of the UV resin. I wanted a little splash of water on the base as well, just to give it a little bit more presence, just mix things up. You can't beat a bit of diversity on the base, and it really does make the model pop. That orange with the teal, it just works together absolutely, like really just perfect in my opinion for what I was going for. It's got that organic look on the underside of the Tyranid, and then it's got this more metallic look at the top, especially when I do a little bit of dry brushing just to bring the top out. Just a tiny little bit of gunmetal I used, nothing too bright there. And then it's on to the final finishing details, just a little bit of blood for the blood god, just to give it that I've ripped something apart and I'm going to eat you next vibe to the whole thing. With that, I'm painting the base rim black. I think we can call this one done. I think this is going to work for the rest of my Nid kill team. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments.